What is up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Limited Resources. This episode number 434, I think. My name is Marshall. I'm one of your Limited Resources.
The gift that keeps on giving.
Joining me, excuse me, on the line, all the way from Denver, Colorado, it's Luis Scott-Vargas. Luis, thanks for putting off the show a couple of days. I got a cold.
Yeah, we can all hear that. Marshall's almost dead a few days ago, so.
It actually was, yeah. But I'm good now, just some lingering symptoms, but nothing too bad. And I'm excited to get back to work and jump back into ye old podcast. On this episode, we're kind of in that in-between time. We're going to start rolling things up towards Dominaria here coming up in the next week or two. But we decided we'd take a little bit of a different turn this week. And these shows always end up being some of our most popular. These are shows where we go a little more personal, a little more between you and I, Luis. And we're going to actually be asking each other, about 15 questions each. And we've come up with these separately, and we don't know what the questions are. And we're just going to be going back and forth and interviewing each other and getting you a little different perspective on your co-hosts. I was always hesitant to do these before, and I remember John Laux back in the day made me do one, and ended up being one of our more popular shows for that time frame. And I thought, well, John was right about that. And so we're going to be doing one of those today between Luis and I. It's going to be really fun. And yeah, that's what we're doing. Now, before we get into it, first things first, our sponsor, channelfireball.com. That's the place to go for all things Magic related. You can get your Dominaria pre-release going there now. And, or not pre-release, goodness sakes, pre-order going on channelfireball.com. So if you want to pick up a box of cards, some packs, some singles, whatever it is you may need, you will find it at Channel Fireball. And while you're there, you can check out all the awesome free content. Looks like you put up a Pauper video, Luis.
Yeah, I did. I played a deck that felt pretty busted. Tireless Tribe Inside Out. Nice little 2-card combo that frequently wins you the game. And yeah, Pauper's a lot of fun. I would recommend it.
Yeah, somebody told me that the deck I used to play is no longer around, but there's like a Ghostly Flicker deck.
Yeah, there are a variety of decks using Ghostly Flicker, Mnemonic Wall, like various like Mold Drifter, Seagate Oracle type dudes. And those are also pretty sweet.
Yeah, I'm going to be maybe putting together one of those if I find a reason to. So anyway, Channel Fireball, make sure you check them out for everything you need magical. You can also check out the Patreon. That's a way, of course, to give back to the creators that help make things that help brighten up your day, your week, your month, whatever it is. And we're on there, patreon.com/limited resources. You can, of course, check these things out for all the details. One of the cool parts is that you get to ask questions on the Patreon question of the week. This one comes from Gabby Squalia. No, that can't be it. Luis, how would you say Squailia? Squalia?
Squalia, yeah.
Squalia? Yeah. Anyway, Gabby says, new listener and player here. Welcome along. With your help, I've gotten pretty good at Limited in a few months, but I'm struggling with more complex formats like Cube and Commander. Modern and Legacy just seem so complex that I can barely imagine playing them with confidence. Assuming that my current level of obsession continues, it will, trust me. How long do you think it will take for a total noob to get to the point where she can understand the overall sweep of Magic's history and become decently competitive in these realms? And what exactly does it take, or excuse me, does one do when one loves plain blue but doesn't quite know how to dirtle into the win? She's picking up all the lingo, I'll tell you that right now.
Yeah, that part you got down pat.
Yeah. So this is an important question, Luis, because I remember the first time I played a Cube. I had been playing Limited for a couple of years already, and I, had some foothold going on some of the basics there. But wow, Cube was overwhelming. I was just like, I have no idea what I'm doing here. And I had to work my way into that as well. What would be your advice for Gabby about, working her way up to perhaps at least feeling somewhat comfortable in a Cube style environment?
I think trying to just take good cards and not worrying too much about combos could help. Because if you draft a blue deck with a curve of like a couple 2-drop counters, some card draw, a couple good like 5 and 6 mana plays, like that'll play out pretty well. You don't have to get super fancy with that. It'll still be the cool, powerful blue deck, and those are a lot of fun to play. I do love them. And the other is Cube is just fun, and you don't have to worry about winning or losing too much. So I think just jump into cube and kind of enjoy it. And just you only get to experience a cube for your first couple drafts once, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like at this point, we're hardened cube veterans. We're casting mole drifters and factor fictions. It doesn't bring the thrill it once used to. Whereas,
That's right.
Whereas, Gabby, you have the opportunity to just get in there and kind of see what happens. Just play with whatever cards look good to you and see how that goes and see what feels right. Because cube is one of the formats more than others that you don't have to go by like any sort of set order.
That's right. I think that the other thing to do is to accept the fact that, it's going to take a little while before I get really good at this, and that you're kind of putting in your time, you're putting in your grind time, and you got to work your way up the chain. It's not the kind of thing where you can listen to a couple episodes of the podcast and, listen to the set review and kind of have an idea of the fundamental breakdown and have heard something about each of the cards and then sort of throw yourself in. It's going to take more than that. And I think that's fine. As Luis said, it's fun. That process is fun, though you may not pick up as many wins as you'd ideally hope for in that early stretch. The other thing I'd recommend is remembering that each time you play a match, it's a learning opportunity, not just to figure out what the cards that you drafted do, but watch what your opponents do, right? If you see, oh, look, they're playing Merfolk Looter. That's a good card, but is it really good enough for cube? And then, they say loot and they go, okay, put Grizzlebrand in my graveyard. You're like, wait, what's going on here? And then boom, they bring it back with some reanimation spell. You can be, oh, okay. And start to piece together the type of things that are happening in the cube that you're playing in, and the type of 2-card combos that you see a lot of as well. All of those things add up, and you're getting a chance to effectively see 2 decks do what they're doing, the one you're playing and the one that your opponent's playing. And you can build up a nice little, database of information pretty quickly when you're taking information on both sides like that. So good luck with it, Gabby, and keep it up. And like I said, for better or worse, that obsession level usually doesn't drop for quite a while. Let's crack a pack. This one is Masters 25. I actually won this little bad beast down at the local card shop last weekend.
Bad beast isn't really a saying.
Well, I did it. Man, I had a sweet game too. My opponent had how many was it? I don't know. I think 3 lethal flyers. And, and I ended up doing the horseshoe crab retraction helix thing. Ooh. To bounce 3 flyers and also bounce my stupid Sundering Titan. Now, the first time I played the Sundering Titan, it did actually kill 3 lands for my opponent. But as you may imagine, I was playing a Sundering Titan, so we were pretty deep into the game. Well, I untapped, and I got to play the Sundering Titan again on my turn and then bounce it. So I wiped my opponent down to 2 lands, and they never got to recast any of those.
That's pretty sick.
Flyers. It was pretty nice. All right. First card out is a Lunarch Mantle, 1 and a white. Aura for a creature. The creature gets +2/+2 and has an activated ability. They can pay a mana and sack a permanent to give this creature flying.
This is a card that people have tried to beat me with many times in A25 and has not yet worked.
I have not found the spot for that one.
Yeah.
I will say. Horror of the Broken Lands, 4 and a black for a 4/4. You can cycle it for black, and whenever you cycle or discard a card, it gets +2/+1 until end of turn. I've played these, but they're filler.
Yeah,
I did have a sweet, what's it called, deck though?
Living Death.
That's right, buddy.
Yep, that's the place where this is best, but the Living Death doesn't need that much help.
That's true. Trumpet Blast, 2 and a red for an instant. Attacking creatures get +2/+0 until end of turn.
Yeah, not particularly exciting.
It's whatever. White Mane Lion, 1 and a white, 2/2 flash. When White Mane Lion enters the battlefield, return target creature you control to its owner's hand.
This is a card that's very good in the blue-white blink cloud shift type deck, but I really don't want to make first pick.
No, and it is not a May, by the way, so be careful. Elvish Aberration. What does Elvish Aberration do?
5 and a green. It's a 4/5. Taps for a green, and it has Forest Cycling for 2 mana. A fine card. I almost always play this. The first 2 land cyclers are so good because they're a way to increase your land count while also not protecting you from flood. Yeah,
and this is actually the reason that I was able to recast that Sundering Titan so easily, as I had one of these on the battlefield too. Arcane Denial. I saw a little bit of a Twitter argument about this one. 1 and a blue instant counter target spell. Its controller may draw up to 2 cards at the beginning of the next turn's upkeep. You draw a card at the beginning of the next turn's upkeep. What is up with this? It's a weird card, right?
So The net effect is your opponent is up a card because they're down a spell and up 2 cards. You're down a spell and up 1 card. So it's not good just like on space, but it can be good countering a really expensive spell, still a counter spell. And if you have cheap spells and can counter your own spell, you do get to draw 2 cards.
Oh, okay. That's kind of interesting.
Well, 3 cards actually total.
Yeah, 3 total. So, but it costs you 2.
Yeah, so it's not a card I'm playing. It's like a sideboard card, and a tenuous one at that.
Assembly Worker, 3 mana, 2/2 to tap it. Target Assembly Worker creature gets +1/+1 until end of turn. And there are a few of those in the set. There's Mysteries, Factory, and Self-Assembler, yeah.
A Self-Assembler can get this, so sometimes you'll fill out your deck with this, but again, not a very exciting card.
Generally awful. Death's Head Buzzard, 1 black for a 2/1 flying. When it dies, all creatures get -1/-1 until end of turn. I found that to be a pretty important sideboard card. There's actually multiple decks that have a lot of small creatures in them, but mainly it's Hordling Outburst is the card that I think about.
Yeah, I'm not looking to take this early.
What about Skeleton Eyes? 4 and a red, instant. It does 3 damage to target creature. If a creature dies that was dealt damage by this thing, you actually get a little creature. You get a 1/1 black skeleton creature token that has the ability Black Regenerate.
This is a fun card. It is a 2-for-1. I mean, so it's a little expensive, but you do end up with a solid defensive body. So I like this in like the red-black control type decks.
By the way, how bad is this pack so far?
It's horrendous.
Haunted Fengraf is our next one. It's a land that taps for colorless.
I'm not even like.
All right. Sorry, Haunted Fengraf. Stampede Driver. This is green for a 1/1. And you can pay 1 and a green, tap it, and discard a card to give creatures you control +1/+1 and trample until end of turn.
I can see the kind of decks where this is good, but I haven't played them yet, and I'm probably not going to. I'm normally going to first pick this.
I played against it, and I've had it in one of my decks, and the card's actually fine. It definitely holds its own. You just need to have a go-wide creature deck, but the sneaky part is that it gives trample. In addition to the +1/+1, it's a nice place to throw extra lands. And even if you have big creatures, it makes blocks for your opponent pretty bad, especially if they're going for any type of, token chump blocks or whatever. Genju of the Falls. This is blue for an enchant island. You can pay 2 mana to make the island a 3/2 flyer that's still a land. And if the island is put into the graveyard, you can return Genju of the Falls from your graveyard to your hand. What do you make of these? There's Genju of the Spires, too, in this set.
Yeah, they're good aggressive cards, but they do kind of open you up to some kinds of removal, though it can produce a pretty good threat, especially if your opponent lets you get a random Genju hit. And the red one is a little bit better at that, being a 6/1. But I just want to mulligan this pack. Is there anything good yet?
Yeah, I found something good. A little late in the pack, but we got there. Ravenous Chupacabra. Hello, friend.
All right, so we're satisfied.
Yeah, 2 black, 2/2, destroy creature when it ETBs.
Just assume I make a moment of craving joke, but I don't really want to come up with one.
Oh, don't worry. I already assumed that. Yeah. Now we've got a foil. It is Vessel of Nascency, green for an enchantment. You can pay 1 and a green to sack it, and you can look at reveal the top 4 cards of your library. You can put an artifact, creature, enchantment, land, or planeswalker card from among them into your hand, and the rest in your graveyard. I have not seen a great use for that yet. Our last card is easily the most powerful card in the pack, yet I still think we're going to take the Chupacabra. It is Plague Wind.
Well, this is 7 black sorcery, destroy all your opponent's creatures. This is a clearly powerful card. 9 mana is a lot. I'll just settle for a Chupacabra.
Yeah, I think I like the old Chupa Chups here as well. So that is what we're going to take there. A lot of good directions to go from that. Okay. Are you ready, Luis?
Oh, yeah.
What if I ask you really hard questions that you don't even know the answer to?
Then I guess we'll find that out.
No, you're going to know the answer to all these because they're about you. Okay, I get to start.
All right.
And my first question, a little softball for you, a little ease your way into it. What was your first favorite card?
My first favorite card?
Yeah. You were 11 years old when you first started playing?
I was.
And then, it takes you a month or two to kind of get your sea legs about you. And then
I think it was Order of the Ebon Hand. This is a black.
Oh, Pump Knight?
Yeah, black for a 2/1. His protection from white. You can pay a black to give it first strike, or black to give it +1/+0. And I remember having a red black, and I got 4 of these, and it was really sweet.
Yeah, that is a good card. Were you? I'm curious. This is a card that was in
Fallen
Randy
Empires.
Bueller's. Yeah, it was in Randy Bueller's Pro Tour winning deck. Remember, I did one of the rewinds that I do on the MTG Breakdown channel, and he was playing 4 of those and 4 of the Order of Libator, whatever the other one's called, and. I'm wondering, were you aware of that? Like that was a few years later. You would have been a teenager at the time.
I was not paying attention to that. Like,
okay.
The first time I think I remember reading about the Pro Tour was maybe 5 or 6, something during like Tempest Block when like Ben Rubin got second at the Tempest Block Pro Tour because he played at a card shop in the Bay Area, and that I went to sometimes.
Oh, okay, that's cool. So, what did you like about Order of the Ebon Hand?
Well, first of all, it is like badass art. Especially the like Cleaver one. There's a couple different. There's 4 different arts.
I was going to say which artwork.
But you should be able to tell when you look at all of them. It's the good one. It was also like Protection from White was really powerful, and I remember like because I would play a lot with one of my friends, and he had like a red-white deck, and it was pretty good against that deck, and. I like that you could Dark Ritual out, then give it first strike so you didn't mana burn for 1, because mana burn was a thing.
Oh, clever.
Yeah, it hit a lot of different notes that I really liked.
All right. You have answered my question. Now it's your turn.
All right. I was curious, have you thought a lot about qualifying for the Pro Tour? Because if you weren't covering every single event, would that be something you'd want to do?
Yeah, it's a great question. And I've thought a lot about it. And I'm actually a little bit bummed out because the conclusion I always come to is that I should not direct my efforts in that direction because it's hard, right? I mean, especially that first qualification. I would have to commit to playing more GPs, which I would love to do, but I don't think that it's good for me to do. And then also I would have to commit to playing a lot more PPTQs and then making room for the RPTQs. And so here's how this works in my brain. One of my jobs is coverage, and I love that job and I take it seriously. And I also take like a lot of responsibility in being there and trying to facilitate the best show that we can bring the audience. And it's hard to do that if I'm not there. Also, it's a monetary thing, right? I mean, it's one of my jobs and I only get paid if I go to these events because I contract on each individual event basis. So if I do decide not to go to one, it has to be for a pretty good reason. And if I decide to go play in a GP that I would have worked at, then as you might imagine, the math doesn't work out financially great for me. Instead of making money, I'm spending money. So it's like this huge swing in the other direction. And if I decide to play in PPTQs at home rather than go, it's not as expensive as going to a GP. But then it's like, I'm going to go the Saturday afternoon and then I've got the rest of the weekend that I, in my head should be working and I'm not. And that's also financially not a great decision for me as well. Now, money's not everything. And so I can definitely work in some of that. But every single time I put myself in the shoes of somebody who's really trying, and that's what I would want to do. I would want to say, no, this is a real goal of mine. And I'm going to do the things that I need to do to realize this goal, not, oh, I'm going to show up and maybe take a shot here or there. I would want to make it maybe not the priority of my life, but, really put effort into it where I'm saying, I'm really thinking about it. I'm testing, I'm talking to people, and I'm really making sure that I'm giving it a real shot. And every time I think about doing all the things that I need to do that, it would mean cutting away too much of work, basically. And on top of it, I don't like where it leads me in the long term because I don't want to be a pro Magic player.
Yeah.
I want to play on the Pro Tour. I really, really want to play on the Pro Tour. Like, I'd love to play a few times, honestly. Like, if I could play for like 3 in a row to give me like, that way it's not just the first one where you're kind of nervous or it's all new and you're just sort of figuring it out. You actually get a chance to understand the rhythm of it and look back at the mistakes that you made during preparation and say, okay, I won't do that again, or that kind of thing. And then fix it and have a real shot. But again, if I ended up doing well, I'd have to stop. I'd have to just say, well, I made silver, but I'm not going to use this invite, and I'm not going to, use anything of it because I want to ultimately I'd rather just be in the booth because that's what I enjoy more. I don't know, man. What do you think I should do? Because I don't want to never have played on it.
I think that you actually are thinking about it a little wrong in that it's not an all or nothing thing. I think if you're at home for a weekend and there is a PPTQ, or maybe you can play like a preliminary PTQ on Magic Online. Like you could have played one this week to play in a PTQ this weekend.
Yeah, and I've done that before.
And there's no events this weekend, right?
No.
So I think like if you just casually play every now and then, if you spike sweet, I think that is fine too. Though obviously, I'm not saying you should go all in here.
Okay, well maybe I'll do that. Right back at you, Luis. Why did you decide to do the podcast?
That's a good question.
This was a while ago now, buddy. You didn't do podcasts before. I mean, you tried like a couple of things, but you weren't like a broad. that wasn't your thing at the time. You were a writer and a player. Yeah. Honestly,
it was just because I thought that I would do a good job at it, and I like, doing that, and I like this sort of thing, and it sounded interesting. It sounded like a new thing. It appealed to me that it was something I hadn't done really, and I thought that it would be sweet. I also knew that you were looking for someone, and I'm sure you'd be able to find someone good regardless. So it's not like you were like hard up there, but I thought I would be a good fit for it, and it seemed like it'd be a lot of fun. So I was right about the first, at least.
Your turn.
All right. So you spent
I'll start coughing.
You spent a ton of time in the booth, as we just established. Who's your favorite player to watch?
Ooh, great question. Oh man, there's a lot of criteria that come to my mind, right? There's some people that are just exciting to watch play because you never really know what they're going to do or how they're going to play. But then there's also people that I like to watch because they like to play the type of decks that I like. So when you said that, and this is what I'm going to go with, two images flashed before my mind. One of them, and this is interesting. So one of them is Jerry Thompson.
All right.
The reason I like to watch Jerry is because he will sometimes bring decks and stuff that are a little bit unknown, but he's not crazy, right? He's not trying to prove to the world that he's a beautiful, unique snowflake by bringing these crazy decks and then hoping to spike one out of, 15 tournaments and be like, look, I did it. Instead, he's taking just a little bit of a different take on a format based on his own logic, based on testing and based on saying, no, I think these things are legitimately, the approach I want to take to this format. And yeah, it might not be like a stock deck, but it's also not something completely insane. Also, when I watch Jerry play, or when I watch him stream, sometimes he doesn't stream very often, but when he does, I'll try to tune in. Jerry to me represents kind of my peak. I relate to the way that he approaches Magic and the way that he plays the game. And I think if I worked really hard, I could be like that. And that brings us to the other person who I like to watch, who's Shota Yasuoka, who's the complete opposite. It doesn't matter how hard I worked at Magic. I would not ever approach the game the way that he does, nor play it the way that he does. And he is basically, he's like you. And you're also one of my favorite players to watch, by the way, for the same reasons, which is that you guys play super fast.
Yeah, that part is sweet.
Yeah, and I love that from being in the booth because it makes commentating super exciting. Although you versus him was perhaps a bit much, but I'll still take it over two slow players any day. And I feel like, and like I said, this is true of you and him. I feel like I'm watching something like like I play basketball, right? I play competitively still. I'm in a league and stuff, right? I know how good I am and how good I'm not. When I go watch an NBA basketball game, I'm in awe, right? I'm just like, I could never do the things that these guys are doing. And they've worked so hard and they're so talented physically and work-wise and stuff that you're just sitting there like, wow, right? Like you can't even strive for those goals. And when I watch people like you and Shota play, it feels similarly where I'm just like, look, I like to think like when I watch Jerry play that I could put myself in his seat. And if I worked my ass off, I could actually make the same decisions that he did. But when I watch you guys play, I'm like, I'm not even doing that. I'm just going to enjoy what I'm seeing and just assume that whatever you guys are doing is right. And then, if I'm lucky, I'll get to talk to the players after the match. And I mean, obviously I get to talk to you about it, not Shota, but still, you guys are, that type of player is definitely my other favorite, the kind that kind of keep me in awe, which you guys absolutely do.
All right. Follow up, even though I feel like I barely need one. Who's your least favorite player to watch?
Um, I shouldn't say.
I have a couple follow-ups you don't have to answer.
I don't mind answering. I mean, it's nobody, I guess, that like, it's just the one thing I don't like is super slow. So
Yeah.
if you're a really slow player, then it does. Yeah, I get a little bored by that. All right. True or false? You once threw a coin
Oh my God, I know where this is going.
into your brother's cereal bowl on purpose, with the results being either a trip to the hospital or broken furniture.
That is true. So, okay, I didn't throw a coin. I flipped a coin, and it happened to land in his bowl of cereal. And it happened.
That was on accident? Is that what you're claiming?
I didn't claim that exactly. There was some intent.
You have some credibility left here to burn, you know.
And yes, it did end up with him chasing me slamming the door shut, him going through the door that had a glass pane, the 911 being called, us both going to the hospital, and me having a scar on my thumb. So yeah, that is what happened. That was maybe not my finest moment. It's so funny because me and my brother, this is my middle brother. I have two brothers, Antonio, who's 3 years younger than me. We're great friends now. I talk to him all the time. He actually like watches my stream. He was subbed to my stream and didn't even tell me for a couple months.
Yeah, I remember that. That was great.
He's actually into Magic now, even though he wasn't for a very long time. And he's awesome, and I love the relationship we have. When we grew up, we did not get along very well. I think I was. I like to think that I troll responsibly now. I did not troll responsibly then, and he also like had a bit of a temper. So growing up,
that's a bad combo.
We weren't the closest brothers could be, but we're really close now. So maybe it just took us both becoming adults before that happened. But yeah, the things you said did actually happen.
All right, your turn.
A slight follow-up is at a different point in time, he once suplexed me through our kitchen table, and our parents were at the hardware store, and we called them. We're like, "Hey, can you get some wood glue?" And they're like, "Why?" We're like, "We need to fix the table."
Oh my God. See, this is I remembered both of these stories, but I couldn't remember which one ended with broken furniture and which one ended up in the
also,
hospital.
Antonio's much stronger than I am. He did fencing in college, and like he actually he's just a bigger guy. Like he's always been bigger than me. So, or not always, but ever since we're like teenagers, basically. So yeah, physical altercations did not always go my way.
I wonder what prompted him to suplex you into the kitchen table. That's a
misunderstanding, I'm sure. All right. Can you dive a little deeper into the science stuff you'd be doing if magic didn't exist?
Oh, God. Come on. It was just like a one-off comment. All right, fine. You know what? You asked for it. I'm giving you the answer. So that was, I don't know, right? I don't have an answer for that. But the reason I said that is because I'm a naturally curious person, and I always have been. And I like, do you remember the show called Mr. Wizard?
No.
Might have been a little before your time. Like, I think I was maybe 10 when I watched it or something, which would mean you were like 5. Anyway, it was this guy, and he would do science experiments like at his house, like in his kitchen or, in his yard or whatever. And he would explain to you why these things happen. I loved the show. Like, this was like my favorite show. And I've always been into that
science stuff is what you're trying to say.
He did science stuff, and I loved it. And I think that, something along those lines interests me, though the stuff he did doesn't. I wouldn't want to do the type of stuff he did, but that's why I said that on that show. Of course, you'd never let me forget it, even for
you said you'd be doing science stuff. Anyone who does
I don't know.
Actual science stuff doesn't call it science stuff.
Or maybe I'm not cut out for the science stuff. Then. Apparently I didn't think it. Also fact. I was in something called Science Olympiad when I was in 7th grade.
All right. That sounds like science stuff.
There you go. See, I got credentials. Okay. Your next question. Cats or dogs?
Dogs. It's not even close.
Why?
Dogs are awesome. Dogs you can wrestle with. Dogs will come cheer you up. Dogs will interact with you. They'll try to make your day better. Cats will largely ignore you unless they're in need of something. Dogs will lick you. Cats will claw you. Dogs are just awesome. Dogs are like 10 out of 10. Would dog again. Cats are like, eh.
3.
Yeah.
Oh, geez. I got cats at a 10 also. Okay. Your turn. Your turn.
All right. What is the number one most useful thing you think LR has done?
Well, quadrant 3 definitely comes to mind. I think that though, if I had to sum it down to one thing, it would be the sort of all-out assault on results-oriented thinking and on imposing logic to your decisions rather than just looking at exactly what happened in one case and then assuming that that's going to be it. That thought process underlies basically all of the other things that we do. Even quadrant 3, even best case scenario mentality, a lot of those can be boiled back down to this logical approach to looking at things and breaking them down, to try to figure out what's really going on rather than just playing a card saying it was great and moving on and just assuming it's great for the long term. So I think that mentality change for limited players is the biggest thing, but it is of course more complex than that if you want to break it down. But I think that's the number one thing.
That's a good answer.
All right. So I'm taking you back in time a little bit to before you were LSV, and I mean, assuming your brothers didn't call you LSV. And I want to know, and this is before you won the Pro Tour. Did you decide to be great at Magic, or is it something that just happened after, all that practice with Paul Cheon when you were in college and eventually kind of finding some success and then keep on practicing? Did you make a decision ahead of that to say, this is what I want to do and I want to be great at this?
It was definitely incremental. It was like I stumbled back onto Magic, when I in my second year of college, and it was like, oh, I've got nothing to do. I kind of want to go draft. Maybe I'll enjoy Magic again. And then that kind of cascaded into now I'm drafting twice a week. Oh, the guys are going to a PTQ this weekend at the local shop, and they're saying, hey, you should come with us. And had you played on the Pro Tour at that point? The first PTQ I played at was in 2003.
Okay.
And I ended up actually making top 8 of the second PTQ I played in and conceding to a friend because I didn't want to go to the Pro Tour. I was just wow. Okay. I was just what am I going to fly to a tournament? This doesn't make any sense. Okay. I literally had that thought process. And then
that's crazy.
And then the next year, the Pro Tour was in San Diego, and I was, going to school in California at this point. And it's well, I can drive to this Pro Tour. Okay. I want to qualify for it. So I ended up winning a PTQ for that. And from then I played a couple tournaments, played a couple Pro Tours, almost top 8'd one in 2000 at the end of 2005. But I would still skip Pro Tours that were too far away. I just wasn't really that into it. But then when Paul moved in and we lived together and we did well at Nationals in 2006 and then went to all the Pro Tours in 2007, all of a sudden it was wow, I have a shot at this. I actually could do this. And I ended up having to go 7-1 in the last 8 rounds at Worlds at the end of 2007 to become platinum, or the equivalent of platinum then. And had I not done that, I have no idea what I'd be doing right now. But because I did that, I'm okay, I can definitely afford to do this. This will be the thing I'm doing right now. And it all was just step by step. I mean, even the year after that, the year I won the Pro Tour, I wasn't doing well in the PT, and I was okay, that was fun. I guess I'll have to do something else. And then I won the Pro Tour, and it's okay, maybe I won't have to do something else. And from then, things have just kind of cascaded. So I am a lot more deliberate now than I used to be. I'm a lot more deliberate in my goals and aspirations and what I'm working towards now. But, 10 years ago, I wasn't. I was just kind of well, I did this step. So then the next step opens, and so on and so forth. And yeah, I practiced and played a ton of Magic, a lot more than I do now, and built up a lot of skills in doing so, and was good enough at the time to do well. So it wasn't the sort of thing that I set out one day. I've never played in a PTQ, but I'm going to be good at Magic, and I'm going to get on the Pro Tour, and I'm going to be a professional Magic player. I think that would have been kind of crazy to do. And I bet if you look at most professional Magic players, it is kind of this well, I managed to qualify for a PT and I really liked it. So I qualified for another one, and I kept trying, and then I did well at one. And all of a sudden it was well, if you go to all the Pro Tours next year, they're going to pay for you to go to all of them, and you have you have flights and you have hotel rooms. Like, okay, I'll do this for a year and see what happens. And sometimes that works out, and sometimes it doesn't.
That's crazy. Yeah, that is weird how things just unfold sort of one step at a time. I can't believe that 7-1 thing, by the way.
Oh yeah, it was a 2-round. It was 2-day work.
Like,
yeah, I mean, I could be doing science stuff. Like, who knows?
Oh God. Your turn.
Well, I will say, for people whose goal is to be a pro Magic player, I think most people who set out with that goal are going to be disappointed. So I'm not saying you shouldn't ever aspire to this or want to qualify for the Pro Tour or get better at Magic. None of those things. But if you decide, like, I'm going to be a pro Magic player, I feel like you're going to be disappointed because most people who try to do that just don't get there. It's just really hard. It takes a lot of dedication and a lot of luck and a lot of skill. And what I think tends to happen more naturally is, like, I'm going to try to, be as good as I can, and I'm going to go to these events. Like, I'm going to fly to some Grand Prix, play in some PTQs. And if the path unfolds such that you do well in, like, the second Pro Tour of the season and you're qualified for the next two, then maybe you think about going to some extra GPs and really taking a stab at it. Starting from zero and saying, like, I'm going to go to 20 GPs next year and I'm going to be a pro Magic player, I just don't see that working out well. And I've seen that not work out well many times.
Yeah, that's really tough because you're burning a lot of money and a lot of time to do that. You have to really, have saved up and be ready for that.
All right. So this follows up on what you thought the most valuable thing LR has provided. So using quadrant theory, I'd like you to evaluate the following things. First up is Arnold Palmer's.
Okay. They're great when you're developing. They're great when you're ahead. Fantastic when you're behind. When you're at parity, they're great. So Arnold Palmer's score highly in all quadrants.
All right. Arnold Palmer's are very strong. What about Hotel Wi-Fi?
Hotel Wi-Fi, fantastic when you're nope, and nope. Actually, it's just terrible. It's bad in all quadrants, no matter what. Especially European hotel Wi-Fi is especially low on the totem pole. But yeah, scores low in all quadrants.
All right, all you can eat barbecue.
This is an interesting one. So terrible when you're ahead because you don't want to eat more.
Oh, yeah.
Probably fantastic when you're behind. I would call it bad when you're at parity. If you're not starving, I'm staying away from all you can eat barbecue. Developing, I guess developing is like breakfast, so they're not very good at that. So all you can eat barbecue actually scores low. The other thing for me, I got two hot takes here, Luis. This could lose us some listeners. Right. First hot take: all you can eat sucks. I'm off it. I used to love that kind of stuff, buffets and whatever, because I could eat so much. But now that I'm older, like, I don't like to eat that much, or I shouldn't say that. I still love it, but I try to not eat that much, and it's just like not a good thing. And so I try not to go to those. I think it's just bad.
You can also afford to just buy a quantity of good food instead of buying a large quantity of mediocre food.
Yeah, when I was young, I couldn't, and I would just eat as much stuff as I could get. My other hot take: barbecue's fine. It's not that good.
Good barbecue's great, though. I also think barbecue, all you can eat barbecue is excellent while developing because it's already just ready. You show up at the restaurant, it's ready.
That is true. You just pile it on your plate. Yeah, that's true.
There's no wait, so it's perfect while developing. So, all right. Lastly, not checking a bag on a flight.
Not checking a bag on a flight. Oh yeah, no. This scores well in. Let's see, developing. Yes, you don't have to go wait in line to check your bag, so it's good there. When you're at parity, yeah, it's good. You're still even money, and that's where you want to be. When you're behind, it's definitely scores well because you don't have to go wait in line for the thing. And when you're ahead, it doesn't matter anyway because you just want to have that bag when you get off the bag. So wow, not checking a bag on a flight scores well on all quadrants too.
Yeah, all right. So the quadrant theory is useful for
very nice.
Just outside of just pure magic.
That's right. Okay, Luis, big question. How do you define success?
Ooh, that is a good question, actually. It's a really good question.
Big question, buddy. You got to think about this stuff because this is like, everybody's living their life and in the rat race to figure out what they're trying to do. Is it making money? Is it being happy? Is it loved ones? Where are you at?
I think a lot of it has to do with expectations because what expectations you have will determine how happy you are with the result. So there are people who go 11-4 to Grand Prix and feel like they're at the top of the world. This is the best they've ever done. They got pro points. They got a little money. They got validation. 11-4 is a good record. And they're coming out of the weekend just like feeling like, A+. There's also people who go 11-4 to Grand Prix and just feel like, why am I wasting my time? Why did I fly here? Because, of course, they flew there. If you're the kind of person who goes 11-4 to Grand Prix, you flew there. Why do I even bother? This isn't very fun. I was multiple wins out of a good result. This just does nothing for me. And both these people had the same finish, but have very, very different takes on it. It's the same as like, if someone were to, like, there's a lot of jobs which someone could have and be like, wow, this is the best job I've ever had. This job is excellent. The same person, another person has the same job and is like, this is horrible and I need a new job. So I think there are some baselines, like once you've taken care of your needs of like food, shelter, to be able to provide for yourself, your family, maybe help your friends, whatever. It doesn't matter you start worrying about things like, do I have like do I have like a good hobby? Like, is my car nice enough? Like you start worrying about the things that no one would ever worry about when they didn't have a place to live.
Absolutely.
Right? But as to what success is, I'm a really big believer in being happy. I think at the end of the day, like within limits, like if you're happy because you're, using drugs all the time, I wouldn't consider that success.
Sure. Ultimately, or at least a short-term success in most cases.
And ultimately it's going to cause yourself and your loved ones a lot of pain. And so I don't think that's good. But ultimately, if you're happy, like if your idea of success is working, like let's say working on a farm, cultivating something, and you're making $2,000 a year, but you can survive on that because you're working in a situation that lets you have that, and you're happy, like you're successful. I have no problem with that. If your idea of success is working 90 hours a week and making $200,000 a year, like if that's what makes you happy, truly happy, then I also would not say that your priorities are wrong. I tend to like balance. I mean, I love what I do and I'm really lucky. I know I'm lucky because of that. But one thing that I think is pretty cool, and I've looked at this a lot, is I haven't ever made a career decision solely on money. Like, I'm not saying money doesn't matter. I'm not saying I'm above it or I don't pay attention to it. Beta jam tomes have to come from somewhere. But whenever I've switched jobs or switched the thing I'm doing, which I've done a couple times, or made a decision about what I'm going to do next, it's never been motivated primarily by money. It's always been motivated by how passionate I am for the thing I'm doing. And, do I think that the thing is something that I would enjoy doing? Do I think it has promise in terms of success? Not just monetarily, but like, we'll be able to accomplish the thing we set out to accomplish. And I think that's important to listen to. And I'm really glad that my parents kind of instilled that in me. Neither of them cared much about money. They were both responsible, but like my dad's a teacher and my mom's a nurse. It's not like they were rolling it or anything, but but my dad became, he switched from being a chemist to a teacher. That's a pretty big pay cut, which I didn't realize until I was an adult. And
I see.
He did that because he just didn't like being a chemist and thought being a teacher would be awesome. And he loved it. So that I think that did influence me, even if I didn't know it at the time.
Yeah, that's really good. Yeah, your parents are cool.
Yeah, they're great.
Your turn.
What's your pick one, pack one meal?
Oh man. It's definitely Asian food. I'll just go with my current, right? And this is ramen.
Okay.
Yeah. I think I had ramen, I don't know, 7 or 8 times when I was in Japan for 10 days or whatever last time.
It's so good there.
I got them all scoped out around where I live. I know which one's open till when, and I routinely visit the places because I was actually a little bit of a latecomer. It's only been the last 4 or 5 years that I've really sought it out. I was big into pho before that, but I'm still am, but ramen has kind of crept up, and I love salty food too, so it doesn't hurt. And then but I mean, I eat Chinese food. everything around here where I live is good in that way. So, but ramen is going to be my current answer. That's where we're going. If you're
All right.
here or whatever.
Well, what is your go-to like C plus meal? Your curve filler that you have the most often.
Pho is definitely on that list. It's cheap. It's just hot, Vietnamese noodle soup.
Oh yeah, I love pho.
It doesn't cost that much, and I eat it pretty often. So that's definitely one of them. One thing I like quite a bit, just as an easy to make sort of stand-in, is I'll make a plate with a few different smaller items. Like I'll have a few crackers, some salami, some cheese, and apple, that kind of thing. I make those pretty often, just chop up some stuff and have that because, definitely. It's not, that isn't, really a fantastic meal or whatever, but it tends to be at least relatively healthy. It's mostly like actual food, not like, deep fried processed everything or whatever. And it does, you don't feel hungry when you're done eating it. So that's kind of my glue meal. Or yogurt. I like Greek yogurt too.
All right. That's a good range.
I'm getting hungry now. All right. Is it true that before playing Game 5 of the semifinals of Pro Tour Eldritch Moon against Owen Turtenwald,
yes,
you said, I hope one of us gets horrendously mana screwed after he said good luck?
Yes, I 100% said that. And then I was the one who got horrendously mana screwed, which I can't even complain about because that was what I hoped for. I hoped that one of us got horrendously mana screwed.
It's unbelievable. You were playing to be in the finals of the Pro Tour, which would have been your third Pro Tour finals and your chance to win 2 PTs. And you're joking around with him as you're taking your opening hand. It's just unreal.
That match, I would actually recommend watching it. I think it's a pretty fun match. It was one of the most fun matches I've had because
it is a sweet match.
Look, both Owen and I wanted to win really badly. It meant a lot to us. And I think we both played quite well. I was very happy with the level of play on both sides. That said, Owen is just a really good friend of mine, and I felt very comfortable joking around with him in a way that I wouldn't necessarily do with everyone else. Not because I wouldn't be comfortable with it, because I don't want to make other people uncomfortable, mostly.
Sure.
But I signed a token for him at the beginning of the match, and
that's right. You put your name. I forgot about that.
And I wished for us to get mana screwed, and I was making jokes the whole time. I just had a lot of fun. I really love playing against my friends in high stakes situations, partially because I know that one of my friends is going to win, whether or me or one of my friends is going to win, and partially because I think it's fun. I think people take these things in themselves too seriously. Like, I get it. It's your first Pro Tour top 8. You don't know if you're going to be there again. You're like, really, really nervous and trying to dial in and focus. But I love just messing around, and it is nothing to like. I can play at my highest level while still making a bunch of horrendous jokes at the same time. So I will do that.
All right.
Who is the most underrated player?
Ooh, who's the most underrated player? So I'm thinking of a lot of different teams here because I want to try to make sure that I get a wide breadth of player. I'm thinking of somebody quiet. Who's quiet? Because these players are always criminally underrated. Oh, I bet you I know. At least I have one person. Steve Rubin. The guy won the Pro Tour. Yeah, he's a Pro Tour champion, and he's been platinum since. And for some reason, like if you look at the chat when he's on, they're like, "Who's this guy?" Like it's just I don't know why.
He's a quiet dude.
Yeah, he's just kind of like a normal, quiet guy. Like he doesn't have any, something that just stands out where you're like, oh, he's the guy that did this. Or, he even won with kind of a normal, boring deck at his PT, the green-white tokens deck. Like none of these things were flashy, really big stuff. Yet he comes out and like, look at the standings at the GPs that he plays in. You were talking about the 11-4. He's always 11-4, 12-3. He's always right there, or he's in the top 8. Doing well. He's just a consistent performer, yet his personality being a little bit on the quiet side and, him just kind of blending into the Magic scene, I guess. He's definitely something that stands out to me because he just seems to do very well, yet, nobody, if Shahar's in the feature metro, you don't have people going, who's this Shahar guy, right? Like they know who he is, yet somehow people still don't know who Steve Rubin is. And it's baffling to me because that guy, he can straight out ball.
Well, speaking of Shahar, who's the most overrated player?
Whoa, that is brutal. Oh man, I love these follow-ups. I want to answer this so bad. I can't do it. I can't throw anybody under the bus. Like if it was somebody I was friends with, I could, but I'm not friends with this.
So it's not someone you're friends with. I got it.
Yeah, you definitely, that part is for sure.
Nailed it down. All right, go for it.
Yep. All right. You are a well-known burrito aficionado. What's the best one you've ever had? Like, is there a burrito that you're just like, wow?
Okay, I know the answer to this. I still think about this burrito. Back when I was in college, you went to the University of California, Davis, at the MU. I don't even know why it was called the MU, but Memorial Union, I think. Anyway, that's like the student center. They had a cafe. And this cafe had these breakfast burritos that were just, first of all, I actually think breakfast burritos are the best kind of burrito. I think overall, they're the best. And it was just a classic breakfast burrito of just like potatoes, scrambled eggs, cheese, bacon. That's it. Nothing else. And they were just so good. And they always sold out. And they only sold them from 8 a.m. to 10 a.m. I do not know how many 8 a.m. classes this got me to. Like, the reward of a breakfast burrito actually got me to attend a lot more morning classes than I would have otherwise. And these are just like the platonic ideal of a breakfast burrito. And I love breakfast burritos. I had one yesterday. I guess I did not have one today, but I have them all the time because I think that they're just the best. And
wait, do you make them or?
I either make them or buy them. I mean, there's plenty of places to get them here. Denver's a pretty big burrito city. So.
Oh, very nice.
So yeah, I mean, but I think like, it's funny because, I mean, you know how I enjoy food. I tend to like a lot of stuff on it, right? I'll always get like with everything,
Yes, yeah.
But breakfast burritos I actually like for simplicity. I like the fewer things, the better. I tend to like the very basic ones. I think that's what I want out of a breakfast burrito. A little too early in the morning to go to, whole hog, but
sure.
But just like a nice, simple breakfast burrito, just egg, bacon, cheese is enough. You don't even really need anything else. You can put in potatoes, you could put in beans, you can even put in avocado, but you don't need to. And those breakfast burritos from college, it's been 10 years and I still think about them. And by 10 years, I mean more than 10 years.
I'm getting hungry now.
If you were to record a non-magic podcast, what would it be about?
Oh, science stuff.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I would love to do one where it was more of an opinion show than an instructional show like we're doing. Like this, where I'd be conversing with somebody about, I don't know. I think the thing that I'd like to talk about are current events or current trends, I guess is how I'd put it. And I would want to talk about it.
News stuff.
Like what? News stuff. Yeah, news stuff. No, but stuff in the news, but more like cultural or societal things that are happening. Like, I'd like to go deep on these things because my brain tends to work in kind of this like, I like to try to look at things from both sides the best I possibly can. And that's really not in vogue right now, politically or societally. It's very much like people kind of pick their side and you just sort of toe that line and you're just not really allowed to say, well, I kind of agree with that other side on this one thing. It's kind of like you get vilified for that. And I don't like that. I would like to create some type of a talking environment where, you could actually say, let's set aside our coat of arms for I'm a liberal or I'm a young person or I'm a millennial or I'm an old guy or whatever. And just say, what are we really looking at here? Who's right? Where should we be going with these things? And I would love to do that because that's a skill set that I like to work, to work out and to work on. And I get to do that within the context of Magic quite a bit. In the booth and on the show as well. But these are much more, opinionated topics is the stuff I'd like to explore.
Cool.
What is the one skill you think you're just naturally best at in life? The thing that comes easier to you than it seems to for other people?
I feel like one of the things that comes really natural to me is making sure everyone's like happy and have what they need to do to kind of like do what they want to be doing. It's a little vague, but what I mean is like in most of the groups that I'm with, I tend to be a person who's connecting other people or making sure people have what they need or making sure people are, empowered or in a position to do, what they want to do and to do that well. Like that was my role in Team Channel Fireball. I was not the best at any of the things that any specific thing that a lot of the people were at, but I was very good at getting all those people together and in the same room and then doing those things together. And it's a lot of what I do at work. It's a lot of what I do just at Channel Fireball, like, not the team, the website. And I feel like that's something that I'm always, that I lend myself to naturally, and I have been pretty good at. So, yeah.
You're very good at that. I remember being in Team Channel Fireball testing rooms and meetings with you, just a couple here and there. But when you were on the team versus when you were doing coverage and you weren't really able to interact as much, and it just had a different tone, right? Like just the vibe in the room was just different. And I felt like when you were there, it was better. It had a more nurturing, like a more, like not nurturing, but just a more supportive vibe to it. When you weren't there, it felt a little more business-like, a little more like cut and dried. And, because you bring that combination of like caring about what other people think and what they want and facilitating it, but also the jokes and the lightheartedness and stuff. I mean, you're just a genuinely really funny person, and you know how to tease people to make them laugh and all that, and that plays really well in those group settings too. So I can definitely see that as being a big skill for you.
Yeah. I mean, I also remember every game of Magic I've ever played, so there's that.
It is, yeah, you have.
That may be a little less useful.
Yeah.
All right. Is your favorite card really Manowar, or did you just say that one day and now it's too late to back out of it? Like how your relatives now think you like owls, so you just get owl everything for Christmas.
No, it really is my favorite card. I've had a few.
I'm giving you an out here. Like this is the time you can come clean. You don't have to stick with Manowar and be like, yep, this creature that bounces something is my favorite card in the new set.
Well, what it actually was, it's a branding decision.
Oh, I see. It's for your hashtag brand.
It fit my hashtag, killer app brand. And now it's just part of my brand, so I can't change it. My actual favorite card is Frenzy Goblin, but it's just, that ship has sailed. So I got the artwork for Man of War. Now, I've actually had a few favorite cards over the years. Time Vault used to be my favorite card back in the day. Just thought that I love the art and I love the what it did. I just thought that was really cool. Like I imagined putting the turn in that, like stone vault thing that they have on there and like putting the lid on it and then like, okay, I'm going to take it back out again. I always thought that was really sweet. But the first time I started playing with Man of War, it clicked with me in a way that it made me realize that that it wasn't just the card. I love jellyfish. I just think they're cool. Even though Man of War is technically not a jellyfish, fun fact. But anyway, but it was the style of play that it led me to that I really stuck with, which is I learned my style, which is these tempo, the tempo type thing where you're stranding cards in your opponent's hand and not really ever letting them, get a foothold. That is, as much as I love drawing cards, I will take, turn one Delver, remand your first thing, that kind of stuff over it any day. I love the tension that you get from that. All right. This is a two-parter. Why do you speak Spanish, and how good are you at it, really?
So I speak Spanish because my dad is from Chile. He came over when he was like 21. And my mom, she's from Minnesota, but she also speaks Spanish. So I grew up speaking Spanish. It was my first language, but it faded a lot when I went to school because, I went to school in California and didn't speak Spanish at school.
To elementary school and stuff?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
How well do I speak Spanish? I think if like a 10 is completely fluent and a 1 doesn't speak a word of Spanish, I think I'm probably about a 6 or 7, where I can understand it completely well. Like I don't have a problem understanding it, and I can speak it pretty well. Though I'll stumble on words sometimes, and my accent isn't great. So I'm very clearly not fluent, like compared to a native speaker. But I can also understand and communicate well. Like when we go to Spain, I'm able to do that. I'm also the person that soon when we're at a restaurant where they don't speak English, it very quickly becomes the team talking to me and then the waiter talking to me and me translating.
I always just grab onto your arm whenever we're in Spain and just say, Luis, this is what I want.
Yeah, that's what that ended up. And that's the Vargas of Luis Scott-Vargas. So I guess kind of also the Luis.
Yes, that's true.
And both my brothers also speak, like I said, moderate amount of Spanish.
Would you speak Spanish with your dad?
Yeah, I always speak Spanish with my dad. I don't with my mom, though, even though she speaks Spanish. It just always felt weird to speak Spanish because it was neither of us like our primary language.
I see. You could, though, if it's just, and you just don't default to it.
No, and I speak Spanish to my daughter, even though, she's not really quite talking yet. She's like not quite 2. So she's, I think, gonna even less than medium speak Spanish, but
but that matters. You get it when the brain's developing and it just sticks,
You give them the seeds. And like that's kind of what happened to me too, is when I took like Spanish literature classes in high school, it really came back strongly. So I had that there, even though I wasn't really tapped into it. And taking Spanish classes actually really helped me a lot. So
yeah. Okay.
Your move. Yeah. I have so many questions. I'm trying to figure out the good ones. What's your number one piece of advice for aspiring podcasters or content creators in general? I actually know the answer to this, but I think it's a good question. So
yeah, you've had to hear me give this speech multiple times because I've been asked it a lot, especially out at GPs and stuff when we're out there, and sometimes on the show. But the few things that I say to people to try to hone them in, because look, I've seen people do this pattern tens to hundreds of times now, which is where you get excited about an idea and you envision the podcast that you want to make, and then you do it and then you stop doing it. And this is a pattern that you will see over and over and over and over again of people getting excited about a project, but not really understanding what it means to do one of these things kind of perpetually. So the few things that you need to do are your idea. You need to make sure that it is audience specific, meaning that the thing that you're doing is relevant to the people listening, not relevant to you necessarily. And that's a huge step because a lot of people just want to hear the words come out of their mouth on the things that they want to talk about, but they never stop and go, if I was just some random Magic player or whatever it is that whoever your audience is listening to this, what would they take away from this? Why would they care? And the truth is that there is so much content available in the world right now, and that it's a beautiful place because it's so dialed in now. Before we had podcasts everywhere, listening to a show like this one that is so specific about a specific topic just wasn't really a possibility. You couldn't get that kind of thing on the radio. You could read because people would publish stuff online about, written articles. But now that we have a distribution model that's so easy with podcasts, you can find them about every single topic. And what that means is that every person, I have a ton of podcasts on my phone and I have to pick which ones I want to listen to. And I listen to more podcasts than most. So you have to ask yourself, why would somebody listen to the one that I'm saying? And if you say, because it's awesome, that's not good enough. Like you have to say why. You have to say, because they're going to learn, or because I am so entertaining that they couldn't not listen to me. And you have to realize that you're up against career entertainers, right? People that are actors and comedians for a living and that are now doing podcasts. And you're going to have to be better than them or people aren't going to listen, or you're going to have to bring something to the table that they don't, that they don't. And that's very difficult to do. The other thing that you have to do, and this is really simple, but this is advice that if you ignore, you will never build an audience, which is you have to be consistent. You just have to simply say, I'm going to put out the show weekly or every day or every month or whatever it is, and it must come out at that frequency. That means you cannot make excuses like, well, I got tired this week, or we didn't really have a topic, or, I just didn't feel like doing it, because that's when your show starts breaking apart. And once people realize that they don't need to show up and they don't need to look forward to your show, they'll just move on to something else, because the baseline is simply that the successful people do make these things consistently. The last thing to keep in mind is a technical issue. Make sure your stuff sounds good. It doesn't have to be perfect. You don't need it to be, pristine studio quality. And, it can be a struggle to get it exactly how you want. But if you turn on a microphone and you have 4 people sitting around it in a room, just sitting there talking, it's going to sound bad. And people are just immediately going to tune out because the bar is much higher than that for podcasts now. Done.
All right.
What's your favorite movie? And if you don't have one that, that is like your default answer, for your hashtag brand, you can just say the first one that comes to your mind when I ask you.
I think The Usual Suspects is my favorite movie. That and Pulp Fiction are very high on my pantheon, but I think The Usual Suspects does a lot of really clever, funny things. It's just a really good combination of comedy and drama, and it's just overall a very sweet movie.
Yeah, that is. And that's interesting. Both movies have kind of a little bit of out of order and a little bit of deception, and a little bit of, where are we going here? That's, you can see what kind of movies get your brain going.
What is your favorite constructed format and why is it great?
Canadian Highlander is my favorite one.
Real constructed format.
Then modern. No, I'm sticking with my answer. Canadian Highlander, I think, is the most fun. It basically plays like cube constructed. If you like playing cube decks, you can basically expand those out into a 100 card singleton format. And as you may know, 100 card singleton formats tend to play out differently each time, similar to how a cube does. No two cube decks are exactly the same. So you have to play an absolute ton of cube before you start really getting bored with the same sequence, same matchup or whatever. When it comes to Highlander, it plays out similarly like that. And I just think it's super, super fun. I've got 3 decks now in Magic Online that I've been playing, and I did a video for Channel Fireball with my main deck, and people seem to like it. So I got greenlit to do more of them. And I don't know. I like constructed. Okay. I play actually quite a bit of modern, but I really like Canadian Highlander just as a competitive format, because I don't like multiplayer very much.
Yeah. I took that for a given.
Who can eat the most? Marshall, you, or Humph? Paul Cheon.
At his peak, Humph, I believe. He just eats an unbelievable amount. Though David Ochoa actually beat Paul in head-to-head at Paul's prime.
You will note that I did not put the Ochoa on the list.
Ochoa is very
he is. He is absurd. Yeah, he is a head and shoulders above us, and that's saying something because we can eat.
I think over a period, in a single sitting, I think it would probably be Paul, then you, then me. I think in like a 6-hour period, I would crush both you guys.
Definitely, your refresh rate is absurd.
Yeah. So, I'm good for like the mid length. I'm like one of those guys who not a marathon runner, not a sprinter, but
mid distance,
but the one who runs the 1,000 meter.
Oh, that is great.
Yeah, like we'll basically all gorge ourselves. I won't go quite as deep as you guys, but then like an hour later, I'll be ready to go again. So
yeah, and while we're suffering, yeah.
This is a question actually I ask a lot in interviews when I'm talking to aspiring game designers. What is fun?
Ooh, wow. People ask you that at a job interview?
Mm-hmm. It's really important.
Oh, that's a hard question. I'm just going to make it up as I go because I've never thought about this. Balance is fun, and more specifically, out of balance is not fun. I find it fun when people are when one person's not crushing the other. I feel like when one person's crushing the other, neither person's having fun. So I think balance is fun. I think discovery is fun. Not knowing everything about what you can see, what you can do, and having that be revealed to you over the course of time, I think is really fun. So I guess novelty is the way I would sum that up. I had one other thing, but I can't remember now. Those are my 2 pillars of fun. There you go. That's my hot take.
All right. That's not the most detailed answer I've ever heard, but it is interesting to see where you land. There's no right answer to this, by the way. There are a lot of wrong ones, though.
Yeah, well, I'll take a C+ for. All right, as one of the most high-profile Magic personalities, you get asked to do things constantly, right? Retweet this, endorse that, commentate on something, appear at my tournament, sign a thing for my somebody's birthday or whatever. Does it get annoying?
Yes and no. So the general answer is no, because if people are asking me to do these things, it's because I'm doing a good job, right? And certainly if anyone's listening who sees me at an event, 100% come up and talk to me. If you want to say hi, if you want me to sign a card, any of those things, by all means do so. And I don't want to dissuade anyone from doing that. That I love. Like, I think that is completely fine. The part I don't like is when people are disrespectful of my time and ask unreasonable things. Like someone like who's like emails me like, hey, can you critique my deck? And and part of what I shy away from is because every time I've done that, people have not wanted me to actually critique their deck. They just want me to tell them their deck is great. And,
right.
Or like, or if someone's like, hey, can you send me a sideboarding guide on this deck? And it's like, I really just can't do that. Like, that's just a bit much. So in general, I think the vast majority is fine. I think when people are a little asking slightly unreasonable things, then it kind of annoys me because it's like, I've got a lot of things going on. I don't really want to do this. But for the most part, no, it doesn't bother me. Like, if I don't want to do something, I won't do it. Like, one of the guys, Sam Tang, right, from Kitchen Table Podcast, he's been asking me to go on the podcast for a while, and I haven't really had time to, so I keep saying no. But what I keep telling him, and I do intend to go on the podcast at some point if you're listening, right, is just keep asking me. It does not bother me if you ask me. If I can't do it, I'll say no. It's a very reasonable thing to ask, And so in general, like, I don't mind when people ask me things. I just don't like when people are persistent about things that I kind of don't think are reasonable, but that's few and far between. So in general, no, it doesn't really bother me. Like, I don't know. Right. I like being useful, and if I can, I'll answer, and if I can't, I won't. Like, that's pretty easy. That's
a good way for people listening to get what they want, right? To understand, hey, that's
another thing is the squeaky wheel gets the grease. Like, one of the things I've learned in life is if you don't ask, you will never know the answer. And I'd much rather someone ask me for something than to be too afraid to do so and think about what they could do. Whenever I hear someone like say on like Twitch chat, like, oh, I wanted to come up to you with this GP, but I was just too nervous, or you look busy. That makes my heart hurt a little because I don't know, maybe I'm never at the same GP as them again. And if their life would have been improved by saying hi and what's up, like, I would rather you do that. So you just go ahead and ask.
Definitely.
Go ahead and ask for the things you want. That generally is a good philosophy.
Yeah, Luis won't bite.
What is the place you want to visit that you haven't been to yet?
Ooh. So I went to Asia for the first time on the Japan trip, and I hadn't been anywhere in Asia before outside of Australia, which is, kind of removed. I want to go back, but I want to go someplace a little dirtier than Japan. Japan's very, very clean, and I kind of like the rough around the edges places. So I want to go somewhere. I don't know exactly where. Maybe Vietnam or somewhere in that area. I want to go down south a bit further and explore around. Yeah, so that's that.
I figured it was going to be somewhere where Magic tournaments have not yet ventured.
Yeah, maybe actually, I love Thai food. Maybe I'll go to Thailand and get food.
That sounds pretty smart.
All right, I like that. Couple more questions for you, Luis. Do you feel that what you and Team Channel Fireball did in the early 2010s was a game changer for Pro Magic with regards to how teams are formed and managed?
So the short answer is yes, I think so. The slightly longer answer is, like, we didn't invent being a team. There's plenty of super teams before us, and I don't think we were doing anything all that hard to figure out, so I don't want to take credit for that. What we were doing, which was meeting in person for like 2 weeks and getting a lot of, I think, really talented players together, which people just had stopped. Like a whole crop of, players, the previous, like, all best players, left for a variety of reasons, poker, job opportunities, whatever it was. And there had just been a couple of years of there being somewhat more casual testing and people not really meeting up. And I was a member of plenty of teams that did that. But then when we first started meeting, no one else was really doing that. And we were just a lot more organized, despite not being the most organized in the world. We put in a lot of work, and we were doing it at a time when people weren't putting in that work. And I think that was a game changer. And that did raise the level of just the Pro Tour as a whole. I think we were legitimately the best team for quite some time. I no longer am going to necessarily claim that. I like our team this year. I think we're pretty sweet.
Okay.
What's the best non-Magic game?
Well, I don't really like not Magic games that much.
Nothing is the answer. That's the answer.
Yeah, I mean, like if we're talking card games, the only other one that, I've taken the time to really know is poker. If we're talking any type of game, then basketball is definitely the best non-Magic game. But that's more of a sport than a game, I guess. Is that how you would see that?
Yeah, I mean, if you want to say basketball, that's fine. But I guess if the answer to this question is I don't really game outside of Magic, that's also legit.
Yeah, that is the answer. I used to play some first person shooters back in the day, but I haven't done that in a while. And yeah, no, I play Magic, and that's about it as far as gaming goes. Last question. Friendships aside, it's a good start, right? Who else is on your team draft team with you to defend all of humanity against the alien invaders? So the aliens have put forth the 3 best drafters in their culture, and it's you, and you have to pick 2 people. And I don't want you to say, "Oh, I'm going to bring Raptor because he's my friend." Now, if he's the best, then you can pick him.
I'm going to bring Raptor. Don't worry.
Oh, geez, I wasn't trying to sidewind Raptor.
That's brutal, Marshall. That was really slick. It'd be the 2013 Hall of Fame class. Me, Ben Stark, and Huey William Jensen.
Oh, God, what a team.
I still think, given that I chose us out of everyone just to draft against humanity, I would definitely fight against any Hall of Fame class.
Yeah. I mean, is there any, I mean, I guess maybe some of the early ones might, the Finkel classes might have something, but I would take you guys. The problem is that you guys you got into the Hall of Fame while I was involved in Magic. When I first came back and actually was aware of the Pro Tour and started watching was that era that we were describing a little bit ago about you and Team Channel Fireball. That's actually why I wanted to ask you that question, because I don't have the context before that, right? I've talked to BDM about it and stuff, but I wasn't there for those things. And, there's this tendency for people to think that the era in which they discovered something is the golden era for that thing. And I don't, I'm like, I don't know. It seemed pretty important. And you guys were crushing literally everything when I first started watching. You had a really good run, like a run that I haven't seen, since then. And this is, of course, I've been paying attention.
Well, I think the opportunity is not there anymore, because we did really strike at a time when people weren't doing this work and putting in the effort in the organization. And now, since everyone's doing it, the playing field is much more level.
Okay. You got anything else?
Yeah. Last question is there a distinct level up moment you remember as a Magic player?
Oh God, yes, absolutely. The number one level up moment that I had was learning to attempt to use up all my mana every turn. And it seems so basic now. Like it seems like, well, yeah, why wouldn't you do that? But when I, was coming up, I was looking at each spell as like, well, which one do I want to cast? And why would that matter? And not understanding the idea of getting stuff onto the battlefield now and then, sort of letting the game develop and react to it in that case. And I would, I would sequence stuff out where I was doing it wrong. I would spend not enough mana. One thing I wasn't willing to do would be to spend more mana, but to do a little bit less, right? Like, let's say I had a 3/3 for 3, or a 4 mana 2/2 with like an ability. I would say, well, I need the 3/3 right now, so I'll play that. And then the next turn, I couldn't play the 3/3 and a 2-drop with, if I hit my land, and instead of I would only be able to play the 4. And I thought that was fine because I was trying to cast like the best spell that I could at each sequence. And I thought that that's what I was supposed to be doing. And I can't remember who or why. Maybe I watched a video or something. I don't remember. And I remember just saying to myself, I'm going to basically ignore strategic considerations and just use up all my mana every turn or set myself up to do so. And even if it means I'm falling a little bit behind now. And then I was like, oh my God, like I'm either just ahead or like I fall behind momentarily and then I'm way ahead every single time. And I realized not that you should do that every time, but this should be my default. That I should start here and then make exceptions to that when I deem it necessary, but not the way I was doing it, which was, me thinking, well, I'll just try to make the highest impact play I can at each turn. That was not the way to do it, as it turns out. It turned out using up my mana. That stood out to me as a huge, I did it as an experiment. I mean, I just said, well, I'm just going to, like, I don't care if I lose these matches. I'm just going to use up all my mana every turn or be as mana efficient as possible and just see what happens. And then I was just winning. And I'm like, oh my God. The other one I had was much later, which was my default was if I can trade, I will. So like if I had, let's say I had a 3/3 and a 2/2 and you had a 2/2, I would attack with both of my creatures as a default instead of just the 3/3. And I always just thought, well, I don't know, like, why not? Like, it's an even trade. But I realized later that I needed to be much, much more picky about that. And then, in fact, it was often correct for me to kind of give up nothing and only make the attacks that made sense, like my 3/3 into your 2/2. Haha, you can't block it. And I'm not giving you any options, because what I realized is that I was just giving my opponent the choice over and over and over again to make these decisions. And they, unsurprisingly, were making the decision that was in their best interest, and I didn't have a say in it anymore. So I started to be a lot more picky about that, and I noticed that I was doing well after that too. Those are the two biggest, like, individual moments that I remember.
Cool.
Yeah. Good stuff, man. That was fun.
Yeah, it was.
I hope the listeners know you better now. I don't. I knew all this stuff ahead of time. I've seen the deep, dark depths of your psyche. So
you'd be good at doing law stuff. You never ask a question you don't know the answer to.
Come on, man. All right. It was like one sentence. All right. I want to remind you that this show is brought to you by channelfireball.com. Make sure you check them out for everything you need Magic related. And while you're there, sell your cards back to them. Those cards that are piling up, they are not going to go up in value, with a few exceptions they might, but all the other ones are going to go down in value. And you don't want to be stuck with them. You want to package them up, send them in a Channel Fireball, and they're going to give you 30% trade-in bonus. 30%, that is a lot. You can use that to get Dominaria or Masters 25 or some singles for your Canadian Highlander deck or whatever it is you're working on. That is the place to get the value. And we're all about value here on LR. So make sure you do that over at channelfireball.com. If you want to find us on social media, it's easy. I'm Marshall_LR. Luis is LSV. And you can find everything related to the podcast on lrcast.com with links to all of the different places and things. The Patreon I mentioned before, the Reddit, the subreddit, and all of that kind of stuff's over at lrcast.com. Thanks for hanging out with us this time. And we'll be back to our normally scheduled programming next week.
So from time to time, I like to talk about the sweet formats I'm playing, because every now and then I kind of get into a different thing. And what I'm actually pretty into right now, and I'm going to play at GP Seattle, I'm really excited about, is old school Magic. This is 93, 94 Magic as Garfield intended, like actually as Garfield intended. So the rules of this format are, and there's a couple different rule sets, but the one that I am operating under that a lot of people here in the US play are, you can play cards from Alpha, Beta, Unlimited, and Revised. Play cards from Arabian Nights, Legends, The Dark, Antiquities, and Fallen Empires. So this is like the first 2 years of Magic.
Okay.
And it is awesome. I love it so much. Like,
it can't be good. These sets. Oh, like, is this an even remotely balanced format?
First of all, it's more balanced than you think, because there's a lot of cards here, and there's a lot of powerful cards among those sets. Like there is various aggro decks with Serendib Freet and Savannah Lions and Order of Leaper. There's strip mines unrestricted with the Eternal Central rules, or restricted under like the Swedish rules. The Swedish rules are actually hardcore. You can't play cards from Revised. You can't play. You have to play.
Oh man!
Like you can't play. You have to play unlimited cards, unlimited Alpha or Beta. You can't play any reprint versions. Whereas Eternal Central is a little bit more lax. You can play Chronicles.
I really like that, but also like that's pretty constricting.
Yeah. But there's there's the deck, obviously the control-ish, Counterspell, Mana Drain, Source to Plowshares, Broken Stuff. There's various Mishra's Workshops decks. There is various black decks that play like Dark Ritual, Hypnotic Spectre, Juzam, Hymn to Turok. Like there's a lot of powerful stuff going on. There's a lot of sweet things too, and then also people just play the cards they like to play. Like that's what it's all about. It's not really about playing necessarily the exact best deck. It's about just playing the things that are sweet. And oh man, I'm just been really into it, and I'm really looking forward to playing it in Seattle. And
wait, I want to know what you're playing now.
Oh, you have to find out in Seattle.
Oh, okay. So wait, so you're playing in a side event with this, or what?
Yeah, Daniel Chang, the owner of Vintage Magic, who's one of the big proponents of the format, he's organizing a side event, like unofficial one. It's at like the Sheraton on Saturday. Okay. I'm probably not going to be able to actually play in the event, but I'm going to head over there when I can and just like hang out and play. And I'll have I'll hopefully have some pickup games over the course of the weekend. Also, Brian Weissman, the inventor of the deck, he's actually going to be there playing. He's going to be gunslinging, so it's going to be really sweet. Dude, if you have time, just check it out. Sweet. I think you would love it.
Maybe I might have to grab my vlog camera and head over there.
I think that would be some good stuff. So I don't know. I think it's sweet. It's a good way to get that big nostalgia bump, and it's just a lot of people enjoying Magic. So I found it to be fun. And I think it's pretty cool.
Nice.